Well, welcome everyone to this week's special edition of a Menlo Midweek podcast, where we are diving into all things Annual Congregational Meeting. We just wrapped our services literally 20 minutes ago, so this is fresh. We have Phil EuBank with us here, and we have Dawn with us as well.
Everybody.
One of our elders, and she's here to talk about all of the amazing things and all of the time and the attention that was put into this weekend. And so before we get into questions and giving updates and stuff like that, we just wanted to give a quick recap of what happened today. If you're listening to this like, wait, what? This isn't the sermon recap. So a year ago, we decided to move our annual congregational meeting. This is where covenant partners have a chance to speak in and vote for prospective elders, things like bylaw changes. We moved that from an independent meeting at one of our campuses to in our service at all of our campuses. And so Phil was actually the leader on that change. So Phil, let's talk a little bit more about how that functioned last year and how that also supported this year.
For sure. You did a great job explaining that. I don't even know what I have to say, but
We're done.
I think that the spirit of it was it was really easy for people who could get to Menlo Park to be a part of it, to ask questions live. Mm-hmm. But we just saw, there was a handful of people that would get here. It didn't even satisfy the quorum requirements of the number of people to affirm elders. It's like, this just isn't working. And being a multi-site church, we're already built to be able to transmit information to other campuses. So let's do that for ACM stuff. So it meant that annual report stuff could get distributed digitally, that questions could be submitted digitally, that we could capture the Q&A time like this and share it immediately. And it could all be done in a worship setting at your campus without requiring more. And so last year we tried it. It worked really well. Yep. This year, I think we've made some good improvements, as well as for the last 2 years, we've been working on updates to our bylaws. And so this year we also added in affirming our bylaws as a part of it for this year, which we would have never had quorum to do in a world where we were asking everybody to come to campus. And when that didn't happen successfully, we would spend your money, Menlo Church, to mail all of our covenant partners ballots to be able to send stuff back. So it just was like this wild, we have to change this. It's not working. So this is how we've done that.
Yeah, and so this year, one of my favorite things about that change too is it kind of demystifies this whole who's pulling the strings here, who's voting for who.
That's
and it's completely visible. It was part of our service this weekend. After worship concluded, we spent about 3 minutes together all as a church at every campus using similar language around what was happening with bylaw updates or voting for elders. We had a video that introduced them. And if you want to go in depth and you didn't check out the podcast that we did with those elders, that 1 or 2 minute introduction video was actually pulled from a podcast of a long form conversation that we had with them. So if that, maybe you might have some reservations about casting your vote because you're maybe feeling hesitant of, I only got 1 minute and 30 seconds with them. Well, you can check out a full 45-minute episode with them there. And I'd love for you to check that out. You can get that wherever you're listening to this or on YouTube as well. And so, Dawn, part of that change meant that we kind of had to rethink what we did. Last year was the first time we did that. Yep. This year we took our learnings and we kind of improved it. What was it like for you behind the scenes and for you and the team that was working on this? Talk a little bit more about the care and the thought and the heart behind how things went today.
Well, first I just have to say it gave me a really great appreciation for the thought and planning that goes into what happens on Sunday at every one of our campuses.
Yeah.
Thinking all the steps through was huge. So working with you, Mark, and Carly and the team to figure that out was super helpful.
Yeah.
I think we wanted to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to speak into and communicate and understand the changes. So trying to be thoughtful about not just overwhelming people's inbox with emails because everybody gets a ton of email and it's not always read. So trying to be thoughtful about the amount and also about the clarity. So we did the listening sessions at each campus around the bylaws to give people an opportunity to hear firsthand, because sometimes reading through all of that, even though we tried to give it in all different forms and be succinct, was a challenge. So just trying to find a variety of different ways to make sure that everybody had an opportunity to hear what's going on, the process, and why we were making the changes.
Yeah, I really appreciated too the amount of care and thought that went into where can we make this the most visible? How can we make this easiest for the people who are reading this to understand? How can we really try to clear up any confusion there may be around like something as daunting as they're changing our bylaws? What could that mean?
Yeah.
Really trying to simplify that and say, hey, these are the changes that we're making. This is why we're making them. And getting that out early enough for people to go ahead and look through that before today. So thank you to you and your team for working on that.
It was a great work of the governance committee, Kristen Woods, and the other members who did the heavy lifting on that. So thank you.
Yeah. And as you're listening to this today, voting is now live. So you can head over to menlo.church for pretty much anything that we're going to say here, any things that we hinted at, any pieces of information or shout outs that we're giving or links to videos, that can all be found there as well at menlo.church/connect. As well as the first link right there is how to vote. So we'd love for you at any point today to be able to submit your vote for not only the 3 prospective elder candidates who, for me, that was one of the best parts of this, was getting some FaceTime with them, with Maddie and Kevin and Janie, and being able to just hear a little bit more about their story and what God has put on their heart for them in this next season as they're entering into eldership. Eldership, is that right?
Sounds great.
It works.
That works.
Yeah.
As well as voting for our proposed bylaws. And so, Don, I don't know about for you. I think this is one of the first times that you were also maybe got some FaceTime. We got to meet our 3 candidates. What are you excited about for welcoming them on?
I just love the diversity and what they
definitely.
each bring to the table in terms of, you name it, both their family situation, their backgrounds, the campuses that they're coming from. It just, shout out to the nominating advisory committee for the work that goes into identifying and then culling through possible nominees, and to really go through the process to make sure that folks who are presented to the congregation for a vote have the heart and the service and the desire for Menlo to be a part of that. So we had a couple different opportunities to get to know the new elders, and just so excited to be able to serve with them, assuming that the vote is positive this year. It's going to be great.
I agree. Yeah, they all were so unique in their own ways, but younger. I love too that they were already all serving at each campus that they were attending, and I thought that was a great way for campus representation to not only be represented by someone that's attending, but someone that's really deep in the community there, that their kids go to their students ministries and kids ministries there. And so it was just really exciting to see how next gen can be cared for as well as getting a campus experience. So
yeah, absolutely.
that was great. And then the other part that people can vote on is bylaw updates. So if that's a big, weird, what does this mean? Phil, your time to shine, buddy.
These
Mr.
are
Bylaws.
these are the fundamental documents that any nonprofit organization, honestly, almost any organization, uses to help set the operating system of how they say, hey, this is why we exist as an organization. These are the fundamental ideas that will continue to guide us. And for us, we had a little bit of we're more than 150 years old. So if you think, hey, I have a document in my life that I've been maintaining for a couple of years, it takes about 10 minutes for that to have more in it than it needs to have. You will always defer to more complexity, not less. And I'm guessing you're not 150 years old listening to this, but if you were, and you were like, oh yeah, my estate documents have gotten really complicated, it's kind of like
with
that.
a feather.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're on stone tablets. And so some of this was streamlining language that had existed for a while. We did an update to our bylaws when we left the PCUSA a little over a decade ago. But some of the language that we were using in that was specifically related to leaving our denomination and was no longer relevant. So some of it was just streamlining language, making sure that they were consistent with themselves. And then the other thing that we did was move policy. In good health, you don't have policy in your bylaws. You have policy. This is going to be crazy. In your policy. And so we didn't change policy. We just wanted it to reflect reality, and we wanted that stuff to be in the right place. So the bylaws got shorter, not because we changed our theology, that's not even really in your bylaws, or because we changed policy, but because we put policy where it belongs, we removed redundancies, and we modernized language.
Yeah. So Phil, a couple rapid fire questions for you.
I'm ready.
Ready? Is any part of our theology changing as voting in these bylaws?
No.
Cool. Are we leaving our denomination?
No.
Great. Is changing things legal? Like, are we allowed to do this?
When we do it this way? Yep.
Okay, perfect. That was pretty much all the questions.
That's
that
fantastic.
got sent
Yeah,
in.
that's really good. And I think, a shout out to Session who have gone, this has been a 2-year process. They have gone so above and beyond to prayerfully consider what does this look like, spending hours and hours praying and processing and looking through it and taking it so seriously, and then meeting with every single campus in like a bit of a listening tour to be able to say, here are the changes, and here's like a side-by-side that shows you what changes are, the specific, I've never seen an organization do it better than our session just did it for Menlo. And I think it was fun to see the trust of people that were like, oh, yeah, we see what you guys are doing. This looks great. Thank you so much for doing it. So that's really great, and I think reflects continued trust over these last few years. But, yeah, really grateful to, Lord willing, be able to get that across the finish line. Yeah. And I think if it's not across the finish line, Kristen's going to have some things
We'll
to
vote
say.
on a new slate of session members.
Yeah. And I think that's a constant theme of this year, at least for me, that I've noticed in all parts of this, is this shift of, we had a way of doing all this before as a single site church. We had a way to vote. We had a way to hold a meeting. We had a way to create bylaws. And now that we are a multi-site church, and that's where we're headed and where God wants us to continue stepping into, we're having to learn what that is on the job, as well as change and amend the things that we're doing. To do things like, hey, how are we voting now? How are we taking meeting notes? How all that stuff. And so part of that, Phil, is you sent out a quarterly strategy video that helps walk through how some of this multi-site shift, how some of our strategic direction, not only from the quarter that we just got done, but also where we're headed to, is headed. And so as a part of that, you addressed a lot of kind of the questions and themes around, or some of the stuff that people got sent in. But we just want to give a few more space to some of the stuff that we mentioned in that video as part of this podcast episode as well. So one of the things was staffing. And so if people are like, wait, where can I find this video? Is this just for important covenant partners only?
Yes.
No, it's
decoder ring
there.
is required.
Exactly.
Secret handshake.
Yeah, we send you a special. It's in code, and you have to use one of the. Yeah, exactly. This is all at menlo.church/connect. There's a big video plug.
There's
right
the
there
code.
that
That's
says strategy update. So click on that video if you're curious about what this means. But Phil, let's talk a little bit about staffing and the strategic change there.
Yeah, so I think that, Mark, you've lived through it, so I'd be curious to your feedback. I'm going to ask you in a second.
Sure.
But, when I got here, Menlo had walked through several years of transition, and our central team in particular had gotten, I would say, a little bit confused in its structure, and it was overstaffed. The easiest spot to see that is that 73% of giving was going to staffing, which, just like your own household income, if you were spending 73% on a single aspect of how you do life, there's not a lot left over to do other things. And the healthy percentage that you're kind of aiming for as a church, specifically of our size, is around 50%, which it's taken us a little bit, but that's basically where we are today. And with that, we were also not only trying to become more, call it kind of like church run, where people who are a part of Menlo make Menlo go. We were also trying to help staff understand that their role from Ephesians is that we're here to equip the saints to do the work of the ministry. We're not ourselves trying to staff every individual task. And then we use an assessment tool called the Best Christian Workplace, and Menlo's been using that for going on 2 decades. And until a couple of years ago, the lowest rating of that survey is called toxic, and we had been that rating every single time we took it. Last year, for the first time, we were what's called critical, which is 1 layer higher than that. And this year, 2025, we took it in January, and for the first time ever, we were a healthy staff culture. So we're not flourishing yet. That's the highest one. Our goal is to get there and to sustain it. But getting the right staff in the right positions, getting the spending at the right level, and continuing to help our staff grow healthier have all been key priorities that we're deeply grateful for the progress around. But I'd say candidly, Mark, for you, this has had direct impact on you. Your role has changed. You've had things that have gotten added to your plate. You've had a new boss come in. You've lived this exact thing front row. You tell me, how's staffing feeling across Menlo?
Yeah. I think with change comes a lot of there's growing pains there for sure. But I think when you said that we're changing how we are doing ministry to include and equip the people that are here, not just on staff, but more so in our congregations to help partner with us, lead our teams, lead our ministries. That shift has been hard, but already seeing some of the fruit of that shift has been rewarding.
Yeah.
And so despite the pain and the loss that comes with losing staff, of course, going down from 71% to 50%, that means people aren't going to be here. That's hard, of course, but we can see that our teams are growing in leadership, our teams are growing in depth, and to see the community at each campus raise up their own leaders that are not on staff and start owning things like missions projects or things like worship, next gen stuff. It's been really cool to see.
Yeah.
So there's been some sadness that's mixing in there, of course, but I can see the heart behind all of the changes and can see that ultimately this will probably be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah.
I think I think you're not a human being if you don't feel the loss that comes with that. And we've tried to manage. I mean, there was a significant change when I first got here in the first 90 days where we significantly adjusted down. Like we did a structured layoff of our central team within my first 3 months. And after that, we really haven't had like layoffs. We've had, hey, we're going to adjust roles or restructure something. And we've always tried to make an opportunity still be there for existing team members. Now, they haven't always said yes. But I think from there, it's been just being strategic about what does the structure of the team look like. And when someone moves on to another thing, we're going, hey, is that the exact role that we want to hire someone into? Or do we want to make an adjustment? Or is the structure of the team correct? Right. And we're going to keep doing that because just like it's easy for bylaws to get bigger and more complex, it's easier for staff to get bigger and more complex. And nobody got to 73% staffing because they thought, oh, you know what, I want to have us spend almost 75 cents of every dollar that comes in on staffing. They just thought, oh, well, here's a need, and here's a need, and here's a need. Let's keep hiring people. It's very easy to do. And so I think we just want to continue to be diligent, that if you're listening to this, we recognize that for many of you, you give sacrificially to what God's doing at Menlo, and we take that very, very seriously, and we want to make sure that the way we spend those resources reflects that.
Yeah. And I think that with the changes in structure also comes some changes with how that we do the things that we do.
Yeah.
And so things that used to be highly visible, maybe things that lived front and center on the webpage or online, things like maybe mission trips that we had coming up or service projects that we have. We're still doing those things. They're just maybe a little bit like not front page news now, or they're led by certain ministries or by certain volunteer teams. And so we had a couple questions come in about missions specifically and how that strategy.
I do just want to call something out. What you just saw, what you just witnessed,
I know a
the
segue.
segue.
I know. I
where you're like, is it happening? Is it happening? And you
I have
wanna
to say, I listen to the podcast and I'm always in awe of the segues, and they're always interesting. Some are like so smooth that you don't. It's like, whoa, wait, that was just
incredible.
Segue. So yeah,
like
he's
the jujitsu
smooth.
of
he is.
segues.
He is very smooth.
Put that as my Instagram handle.
Yeah, please do it. Yeah, we'll
Love
get your
that.
name
Yes.
tagged.
So missions, Phil. What has changed? Has anything changed? Where can we expect Menlo to head as we're caring for not only our local missions but global missions as well in the year to come?
Yeah. So missions for Menlo looked like something before 2020, something after, and then it's continuing to grow into something now. We are giving away more than sort of our mandated 10% in missions locally and globally, which is a fun thing to celebrate. And this last year, we had more dollars come in than we anticipated because it's during this 3-year capital initiative. You're not exactly sure how much is going to come in. So we got to go back to some partners and actually help even more, which is so fun. And we have strategic anchor points you can find on the missions and outreach page on our website that will show you here are the focus points that we have, kind of these 6 core areas that are key priorities for us. And then we have partners that flow from them. There's a booklet that's a PDF booklet that we put out that will identify who are those partners, what are their websites, how do you go get those. I think that stuff was pretty hard to find in the past. And then a lot of the local things that we've done, there's 2 types of local initiatives that we do. One is bigger picture, so when we do things all together, so think like Backpack Drive or Rise Against Hunger, for the Bay 5K. And then there are things that happen at each campus. And some of those are really big too. So like Saratoga has the car park that happens. Menlo Park has Hotel de Zinc. Every campus has stuff like that. That's sort of an all skate. We're all going to do this together. And then there are teams at every campus that also help select partners, look for opportunities to serve. Shout out to San Mateo because they crush it at this. They're amazing at it. And so it's this tension and multi-site of, hey, we are better together, and when we all sort of move as one, we can go a lot further, a lot faster. You know, we pack hundreds of thousands of meals through Rise Against Hunger in hours across multiple locations. It's crazy. It's like amazing to watch.
Yep.
That just
Literally
is,
like big rig fulls.
it's unreal.
Of meals.
It is unreal, and it's like it's one of the beautiful things of multi-site where you're like, man, when we're unified, there ain't nothing that can stop us. And then at the same time, the needs of people right around San Mateo are different than the needs of people right around San Mateo or right around Saratoga or right around Mountain View or right around Menlo Park. And so we want to give those local teams of volunteers the ability to help identify and work with partners in those places like the food pantry that exists at Mountain View. And so I think all of that to say, a lot of our local stuff has been rebranded for the Bay. And so if you're like, oh, I'm trying to find that stuff, it used to be called Missions and Outreach. That page still exists. You can go find it. But I would say every time you hear For the Bay, think Missions and Outreach, if that's your language. And then some of those bigger things that we've done in the past, like we are restarting some of our international trips. You'll be able to find those on the Missions and Outreach page when we announce dates and have a process. And if you have a question, Matt Summers oversees all of spiritual formation. His email is just msummers@menlo.church. So if you have a specific question about a specific initiative, a specific partner, the timeline for something, I would say the best days of Missions and Outreach at Menlo really are ahead of us. We've been able to learn from the best and brightest in that space, and we're committed to continuing to grow together there.
Yeah, great. Thanks for that update, Phil.
Of course.
Dawn, as you've reflected on the day, anything else that you feel like you'd like to give more space to, provide some clarity on, or some encouragement with?
I love the people who come up and have questions, who are, thoughtfully and prayerfully considering what we're asking them to do or to think about. I love the people who said, I'm not sure I'm a covenant partner. Or I'm not a covenant partner. How do I become a covenant partner? What does it mean to be a covenant partner? So I'm encouraged by the engagement and the striving to take care of our community, and not just our Menlo community, but our community.
Definitely. And if you have any questions that have maybe bubbled up throughout this conversation, please head over to that link, menlo.church/connect, submit your question. We will answer these at some point, whether that's directly with you, whether that's on a future podcast episode. We're trying to be as open and transparent with all the questions that we receive and giving correct feedback through the correct channels to those, and we really appreciate those that give us feedback. I mean, even shout out to the lady in the hallway earlier today. I was like, hey, are you the website guy? I was like, yeah. She's like, your website stinks. And I was like, tell me more about why it stinks and I can help you. And then we had a little conversation about that.
Yeah.
And like, that wasn't my first response in my head, but I was like, okay, yeah, let's chat about it. What stinks about them? Okay, yeah. But she has some really like good points about it.
Yeah.
A soft response turns away anger, right? Feedback is a gift.
No, we can't do anything about it if we don't know.
Oh, but God heard my internal hard response, so take that up with
well,
them later.
the inside voice and outside voice are the hard things. Yeah.
Somebody this week, because I got a lot of emails this week, and somebody was like, hey, like if you want the email that you instinctively want to send, you can write that and send that to me. And I was like, I don't think it should exist outside of my heart. Yeah. Like I think it's probably good for it to. The Lord gets a hold of it. We work together. I send the one that I think is informed by the Spirit, and we're going to keep moving with our day. So.
That's great.
Yep.
Awesome. Well, again, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have any questions about anything else, please send those in to vote. You can head over to menlo.church/connect. The first button there is to vote. And then, Phil, would you mind just closing us out in a prayer for our time and our elders?
Absolutely. We'd love to. Thanks for being with us today, Don.
This is fun. I'm behind the scenes now. I see how the magic works. It's pretty fun.
Right. It's really fun. God, thanks so much. Thank you for your church here at Menlo. Thank you for a century and a half and counting of your faithfulness to a group of people who have chosen to place you as the first and foremost, the most important part of their life. Thanks for the work that we get to do together, the fun and exciting stuff. And for some, this is that, but then also the ACM and bylaws and affirming elders and ways for us to do that in a way that lets everybody have a voice, lets everybody experience it at their campus. Thanks for the progress that represents. God, we celebrate you today. We give you honor and glory, and we pray that our lives would reflect that realization even more this week. It's in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Have a great week, everybody. Menlo.church/connect for anything else. See ya.
Bye.